Hello, I'm Dead Palette, and after getting pizza and coffee, myself and some friends went out to a Depeche Mode night at a bar we frequent. But before that, we sat down to read a creepypasta that I'm a fan of and get some raw reactions about it. One of my friends, my girlfriend Chelsea, had read the story previously but forgotten about it. And then my other friend Kate had never read the story 12 minutes before. Here's that footage in medias res.
The slowest pan over a Subway sandwich.
Oh my god. There's our names. We're reading 12 minutes. I picked this out because we're going to listen to Depeche Mode, and every time the only thing I know from Depeche Mode is Personal Jesus, and this is it is a very Jesus-y story. Is it?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting by scanning over it. It's got the Jesus. Got the Jesus.
Well, I mean, can't forget the reason for the season.
Of course.
Yeah.
Satan.
Hail Satan!
Hail Satan.
Yuletide and all that good shit.
The solstice and Satan giving out books.
I know that lots of other people celebrate something called Christmas? Kringus? Chrysler? Chrysler.
I celebrate Chrysler this time.
This is about our Lord Savior Chrysler. Jesus Chrysler.
So this story, read by a guy named Robo Ky. What? You alright there?
Chrysler. Chrysler being like nailed to a cross.
Would he be nailed to the Chrysler building?
I don't know.
People have little medallion, little necklaces with a Chrysler building on them. No, with the Chrysler logo. That's the more
Chrysler logo.
Yeah, that'd be more like it.
So this is written by a person named Robo Ky. I did a narration of this, and I did like an analysis video of it. And Robo Ky actually contacted me with some kind words. And so I've always been a fan of this story, and I'm more a fan of it now that the person has said no, that's the narration. All these other narrations, your narration, yeah.
That's nice.
Ego stroking.
Yeah.
That's always
Right,
nice.
right. Gotta stroke that ego.
Compliment me.
I was legitimately a little teared up when they actually contacted me. Wow. But yeah, so I'm a fan of this story, and I want to share it with people. So I guess I'll start us off. In the fall of 1987, local news channel WSB-TV 2 in Atlanta, Georgia, was attempting to fill a scheduling gap in their Sunday morning lineup.
After a few solicitations by local business owners, they decided to allow the young Reverend Marly Sachs.
Mary Sachs?
Marly Sachs?
It says Marley.
Marly.
That's the gender swapped version.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
This is the internet after all.
Marly Sachs to take the available hour block to do a religiously themed show. It premiered October 18th with little promotion.
The show was standard religious fare and consisted of the Reverend sitting in a simple chair reading passages from the Bible to the camera and discussing their...
Is that how that's pronounced? Bible?
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 Bibli?
Bibli.
Bibble?
I love Bibli.
Passages from the Bible to the camera and discussing their interpretation and significance to our modern day-to-day life. The show received a reasonable number of viewers and continued to be shown into early December. It was then that the studio began to receive extremely strange complaints from the viewers. Words of Light with Reverend Marly Sachs.
I remember this now.
Yeah. It's kind of unforgettable once you
realize you've read it.
Yeah, so what do we think so far? There's obviously not a whole lot to go off of so far, but what do you think of so far?
Nice little tip of the hand. I get little look at what's to be ahead, possibly. with the theming.
Yeah, so it's really weird because this won't exactly go in the direction. It's kind of hard to predict, but like it might not even be going in the direction that you're thinking of so far. I'm getting ahead of myself. There's not enough to talk about just yet. I think it's a good opening though.
It is a good opening.
It makes me want to know what's going on. The calls were from women, and only women, who vaguely referred to uncomfortable feelings they had at very specific intervals during the program. They described feelings of nausea, back pain, dizziness, and blurred vision. These callers, for no discernible reason, were convinced that it was the viewing of this program that was causing these symptoms. It was later determined after 3 weeks of complaints that these feelings were happening at roughly 12-minute intervals during the course of the program. So I should have said like, hey, let's talk about it here. So let's talk about it here. What do you think so far? What do you think so far? Like,
I mean, it certainly got my interest. That's for sure. Just kind of wanting to see.
Yeah,
like it definitely like got my interest, and I want to read the rest of it. Sometimes you start with a slow beginning where you're not too sure if you want to keep going or not.
Right.
Well, I think that premise right there of like he's for some reason, and they can't pinpoint it, he's setting women on edge. I think that's like a good hook of like, why? Is it like he's a creepy old man? No, he's like supposed to be a young reverend. Like, what's going on there? So yeah.
I think it's because his name is Marley.
Maybe.
It makes everyone think of Marley and me.
And they're also probably maybe misinterpreting it as Mary.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Mary from Silent Hill just.
Because then they get really confused and they're like, wait, I thought this was Reverend Mary Sachs. This is Reverend Marly Sachs.
Your turn.
Let's see here. The small studio staff checked all recording equipment, both audio and video, and found nothing faulty. When the Reverend was made aware of these incidents, he merely shrugged and stated cryptically that some can't handle the voice of God. The head of the studio, at a loss to explain the cause of these complaints, decided to continue running the program.
By February, viewership had dropped sharply, and it was decided to pull the plug on the show.
Just Terry Schiavo, that bitch.
Yeah, exactly. To refer to something happened several years ago. several years ago. Terry Schiavo?
Yeah. Boy? Girl on life support.
It was a woman, and her husband, I think, had to make the decision to pull the plug, because she was basically like...
Yeah, Marly Sachs.
Yeah, Marly Sachs.
She was vegetated, and yeah, it was a big controversy.
Okay, it was a big to-do.
Yeah.
Alright, gotcha.
Kind of like get down here. The studio head figured it would be more prudent to spend as much time as possible on the news story that had the other two local news networks abuzz, the miscarriage epidemic. Starting sometime in November, the number of healthy pregnant women miscarrying in the Atlanta metropolitan area had reached over 300. The CDC could find no discernible cause for this terrifying occurrence.
So, a lot of a miscarriage.
Dead babies!
Yes.
Just getting right in there.
Miscarriage Epidemic is a band that I used to play bass for. The Reverend took the show's cancellation with what could only be described as abject indifference. How very Christ-like. When informed, he made no protest, merely nodded, almost knowingly. He left the studio after the last episode was filmed without so much as a word and dropped off the face of the earth. That's very ominous and almost... That's kind of like religious in a sense. It's like Jesus' body disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
I like that kind of parallel there. No one ever heard from him again, not his former congregation or any member of the church. The studio moved on, filling the slot with an infomercial and continued to concentrate on the miscarriage story.
Sorry, Sorry, my mom was just saying my grandpa apparently has a stalker.
What?
I don't know who would stalk him.
Like,
Now I'm imagining your grandpa coming out of his trailer.
No, other one.
Oh.
Other one.
Well, I was still imagining him coming out of his trailer and being like, "Get out of here, stalker."
Why does he have a Russian accent? No, it's the one that has a house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not your homeless grandpa.
Was it Lola Grandpa?
Yeah, Lola Grandpa.
Lola Grandpa.
Lola
Gotcha.
Grandpa. Apparently one of the women he dated after Lola is now stalking him.
Nice!
Yeah.
Cool!
It's like, which one?
This is...
He was dating multiple.
Yeah, exactly.
At
That's
the
what
same time.
I was about to say. So, like, she found out, right?
I'm like, is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one?
Oh boy.
Really set yourself up for success there, buddy.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Your turn.
my turn. A year and a half later, an intern at the WSB studios discovered the tapes of the Words of Light and began going through them in an attempt to find stock footage for an upcoming piece the station was doing on the impact religion had on the city. What?
No, just go. I don't.
All right.
The joke I was going to say is spoiler, so I can't
Okay,
say.
Oh.
gotcha. Say it after.
Yeah.
The Atlanta incident, as the miscarriage epidemic became known in medical journals, petered out 3 months after the studio canceled Reverend Sachs' show and had already begun to fade from the public consciousnesses.
Public consciousness. Conchi, the plural of conscious.
Conchapods.
Conchipod.
As the intern went through the tapes, he accidentally made a disturbing discovery about the footage.
While attempting to stop one recording at 10 minutes and 45 seconds, he mistakenly jammed the fast-forward button down. While the footage whizzed by, he attempted to pry up the button with a screwdriver. Just as he succeeded, the tape stopped at 32 minutes and 1 second. The intern actually fell out of his chair when he looked up at what was frozen on the screen, the image of a badly decomposed, severed head filling up an entire frame. After he collected himself, he moved the film back a few frames, then forward, and realized that his mind was not playing tricks on him. He began going through the rest of the recording and soon discovered that at exactly 12-minute intervals, the image would appear for one frame.
Oh, I love this.
This looks like something Hazel Rigg would make.
Yeah.
Hazel Rigg is an art teacher.
Was a
Was.
nerd teacher.
Rip.
Rest his soul.
Rep in pieces, in pizzas.
He was a very beloved art teacher.
He was. We miss him.
He was the one who made the giant centipede, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
made
a-
it.
That thing was
He
so
also,
metal.
like, for Halloween, dressed up like a bear and pelted us all with candy and while just screaming, yum.
Yum.
Yeah. Yum! He was great.
So yeah, severed, decomposing head appearing at 12-minute intervals at a point so quick that you can't even perceive it.
Mhm.
And so apparently this is what was making women uncomfortable. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, so I also like that they're mentioning the medical journal as just like a little bit of like...
Kind of like real world grounding.
Yeah, of like, this is the Atlanta incident.
Yeah.
That's a cool,
Mm.
did you read last?
I did, yes.
Okay. Thinking it was a practical joke being played with a new guy, he presented it to one of the film technicians, ready to be mocked. The technician was just as puzzled as him. No one had touched the footage since the cancellation of the show. After the studio closed for the night, the intern convinced the tech to help him go through all the tape of Words of Light. They discovered that every single episode had the same horrifying anomaly.
They also realized, as the show progressed, the image had become more disgusting. As maggots began to eat away at the loose flesh and pieces of hair and skin seemed to have fallen off exponentially. The tech made clear to the intern what they were seeing was technically impossible since the film itself showed absolutely no signs of splicing. And he himself had been at every filming of the show and knew of no time when this image could have been inserted into the frame.
All of this was presented to the studio head, who, fearing some kind of backlash over allowing this to get on air, ordered all the tapes destroyed. He told the intern and tech that he had no interest in knowing who did it at this point, only that covering their collective asses is all that's important right now. He demanded that they mention this to no one.
So this explains why there's no proof of this, but I really do wish that instead of having it be written in this passive voice, instead that it was like from the perspective of the intern.
Yeah.
I think that would like help the story immensely.
Yeah.
Because then you have reason to like know all of this stuff. Anyway, that's just my opinion. And it's the correct one. My turn?
Yeah.
The tech easily moved on, remembering the incident as a darkly funny personal anecdote. But the intern wouldn't let it go. He made copies of as many tapes as he could before they were wiped, and took them to see if he could find anything else in them that might point to who did this and why they would.
A week later, he attempted to rope the tech into helping him again, saying that he believed he had discovered something even more disturbing than the images themselves. When the single frames were edited together in chronological order, the head's mouth appeared to be moving as if trying to form words. The tech, fearing for his job, told him to get rid of the copies and to not talk about it again.
A week later, police responded to a 911 call made by an elderly woman.
I should like interrupt because I didn't realize how quickly this escalates, but like you got to remember too, like this is before the 90s, and like Pokemon and Harry Potter were devil worship. Like that's
it's like the kind of was it Satanic Panic era?
Yeah. This was the height of that because they were like, oh my God, D&D is devil worship and all of this kind of stuff. So this was like the height of all of the Satanic Panic.
Appropriately dressed.
Yes.
Satanic Panic.
Not me though.
Not you though, no.
The punkest thing you can do is show up to a place where everyone's dressed in black and just being pink.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like that one Whitest Kid You Know sketch. Have you seen that when they have like a really nice folk singer at like a punk band?
No.
at like a punk venue, and they're just like, is this punk? And then someone walks by is like, would your mom like it? And they're like, no. It's like, then it's punk.
Words to live by. Would your mom like it? No. Good enough.
Hey, it works.
Anyway.
A week later, police responded to a 911 call made by an elderly woman in one of the Atlanta suburbs at dusk. She had heard horrible noises coming from her next-door neighbor's house where a young couple lived. She told the emergency responder that the wife was pregnant and that she was terrified that something had happened. When the officers arrived on the scene 20 minutes later, they found no lights on in the windows and the front door ajar. They moved in slowly and made their way into the living room.
Inside, they found a young woman, dead, with her abdomen slashed open. The wound was jagged, and a trail of blood led from the body to the couch on the far end of the room. There sat her husband, the studio intern, naked, the corpse of his unborn child at his feet, dying. In his hand, he held a rusty piece of metal siding he had used to gut his pregnant wife. The television was on, an 18-second loop of silent footage of a decomposing head mouthing some unintelligible words.
Story at the police precinct to this day goes...
Precinct?
Precinct.
Precinct?
Precinct.
Is that how that's pronounced? To this day goes that the intern kept saying under his breath over and over again as they led him away, the light of God calls them. Ellipses.
The light of God calls them. Oof.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. What was that? Where was that joke?
I don't know,
Where
but
was
if should I give an update on my grandpa's stalker situation?
Yes.
Because I got like the full story. So I guess it's My mom told my grandpa about ghosting. Like, you know how, like, when you just stop talking to someone. So my grandpa decided to try that to one of the girls he was seeing that he didn't want to see no more. And so she has been stopping by his house for the past few days being like, why, like just trying to corner him to talk to him because he's been ghosting her. And today I guess she finally cornered him. Like she finally tricked him into opening up his door and forcing him like to take Christmas presents and being like, why haven't you talked to me? Why haven't you called me?
Yeah, like that's the thing though, is like if you just like disappear from someone and you've been like on cordial terms, then I would be like, what the hell's wrong with you?
Right, like what's going on?
Like that's not a moment of like you need to take the hint. That's like a moment of like, the fuck are you doing?
Right,
just
we were just dating. Like
we were just dating.
Where
and
did
then
you suddenly
stopped?
go?
What the
fuck?
Right. That's
so, not an actual stalker. Just a woman wanting answers.
Getting a little intense.
Right, getting a little bit intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that's still kind of like.
It's still kind of like
weird.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, the impact that religion was having on the city. Abortions, apparently. That's a really effective method of abortion, though. Yeah. Like, a lot less invasive. You just watch it.
Yeah, you just watch a video and then just the baby just drops out.
That might be, like, more...
Baby's
depending on how uncomfortable you are, that might actually be worse. Depending on how uncomfortable the Reverend Marly Sachs made people.
Mary Sachs.
Mary Sachs. Depends on if you want your abortionist to be a man or a woman.
Yeah,
exactly.
So what do you think? Did you enjoy that?
It was fun. I liked it.
Yeah, nice little succinct wrap up and, you know, good
times.
Yeah, definitely trying to, like, formulate words.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
It's a nice little package because it's got a solid intro that gets you hooked, and then like it doesn't like peter out all too long, and you know doesn't go in any sort of insane like people who try to like swerve you real hard, and it's not really effective. But yeah, no, I think that this definitely
the ending,
they keep it reasonable.
There are questions that you can have. But, like, at the end of the day, it does wrap up in a nice, neat bow of, like, the ending that they wrote all leads back into, like, there are a bunch of little hints sprinkled in as to what's happening throughout the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a nice trail of breadcrumbs.
Yes.
Yeah, like, it doesn't have anything crazy there in the middle where it's like, and then Pennywise came out of the sewers!
And he was offering penis enlargement.
You free penis, that is the best.
Yeah, what I called that one was a knockoff Pennywise's cousin, Nickeldum.
Nickeldum.
That was really good.
Yeah, I really like this story. I'm a fan of it.
It's a good story.
Alright. Well, we're gonna go get drunk.
We're gonna get drunk, we're gonna go club, and we're gonna go dance with some goth girls.
And we're gonna go listen to Depeche Mode.
Let's go!
Yeah!
Now, if you enjoyed that video, do make sure to hit that like button down below and check the description for more content like this. You can follow us on Twitter, check out the other videos that I've done on 12 Minutes, watch the other videos that we've made where we're reacting to horror stories as we're going along, and find links to the horror story analysis podcast that I'm a part of called FEARFIC. Any support is appreciated. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and if you like this content, please do support it, subscribe, all that jazz. Have a nice day.